vibrations, and those vibrations directly manifest your experiences in your life as well as your health and well-being. You may have noticed some people in your life where everything seems to work out for them. And then, of course, you may know people in your life who may often always be struggling, right? So let's take a look at these two lists of thoughts. So I have on this slide the positivity thoughts and the negativity thoughts. So it's important to be mindful of your thoughts. Some people are not even aware of all the chatter that goes on in their minds. But if you can just for a moment get a sense of where you think you might be on this spectrum of thoughts. Of course, it's not necessarily always to one end or always to the other end, and it may be in different scenarios that you may find you're more positive in some cases and maybe more negative in other cases. So just ask yourself honestly, of course, I'm not going to ask you to share necessarily with the group, but are you someone who is complaining often, or do you try to seek alternatives? Are you someone that you think you might be more judging and judgmental, or do you think you might be more accepting of the situation and of people who might be different than you? And what about having compassion for yourself versus self-deprecating? Like, let's say you accidentally stub your toe. Do you say, oh, I'm gonna rub my toe and, you know, take care of myself? Or are you someone to say to yourself, oh, I'm always so clumsy, I'm so stupid, why did I bump into that thing again, right? So these vibrations really have a huge impact on our own personal well-being. The good news is that if you feel like, uh-oh, she's right, maybe I am a little more negative than I'd care to be, the good news is you can change your thinking at any point in time, right? It's just like any other mindful practice. Now what we're talking about is mindful thinking, right? Because just like I hope many of you have a mindful practice where perhaps you're focusing on the breath, well, it's the same. You might be going about your day and then all of a sudden you might catch yourself having a negative thought or a negative conversation is going kind of in a negative direction. And just like any mindfulness practice, you can choose to just take a moment to stop and say, oh, okay, let me see if I can turn this around and be more positive. And you can do that with your friends too. When you're having conversations, you can say, hey, let's try to turn this into a positive situation. Why? Because thoughts create vibrations, and those vibrations directly impact your well-being, your health, and your life experiences. So what I'm saying is, even during this pandemic, even during this election situation, you can control your experience with what's happening by being mindful of your thoughts and the power of intention. Next slide, please, Dr. So some of you might be saying, oh, that's all very nice, Ms. Autumn Francesca, but I don't know if I buy into it. It sounds a little crazy, you know, that my thoughts, which I can't see, right, are going to create the vibrations. And those vibrations are not only going to impact my health, but they're going to do things outside of me and it creates experiences. I'm not sure about that. Well, let me share some scientific information for you to help back up what I'm saying. The first research finding that I'd like to present is the Tiller Foundation. They're out of Stanford, California, Stanford University. And this particular experiment with the pH of water was done over 10 years ago, probably more like 15 years ago. And this experiment was very interesting. Basically, they took a container of water and there were no wires attached to the water or anything like that, right? Just a container of water. And they had their subjects, you know, in this experiment, just using their intention, their consciousness, to just say to themselves, the water pH is raising, right? So they would just think about the water pH rising And they found that the pH of the water went higher, right? And if the same opposite, let's lower the pH, just through consciousness, the water pH was lowered. Now, this to me is a very profound experiment, because not only does it show that just through the power of the mind, intention, consciousness, again, there were no wires or anything connected to the brain, you know, to the water, anything like that. What's profound about it is not only does it show that consciousness creates a vibration that not only is in the body, but goes outside the body and goes to other objects such as water. And not only did the water feel the vibration, but changed its chemistry, because pH, as I'm sure you know, parts per hydrogen, is a chemical property of water, right? So changing the chemical property of water just through consciousness, I think, is very profound. What I think is also interesting about this particular experiment is that many of you may know already that the human body is mostly water, that we learned from biology, right? So if we're mostly water, and we know that consciousness can change chemistry of water, well, imagine what else we can do with our consciousness to not only impact our own bodies, but perhaps the bodies of people around us, right? So it's an interesting research. Tiller Foundation, you're welcome to look at it. He has his own website, Tiller Foundation, if you want to look at what he calls psychoenergetics, is a line of science, very interesting. The Emoto project I found was also very interesting, and you might enjoy looking at the gallery of these beautiful photographs that Mr. Emoto did. I think he's a Japanese person that actually recently passed away. But he took these photographs of frozen crystallized water molecules after there were some consciousness applied to it, some intention. For example, he would have people praying over water, saying loving and kind things to the water. And then he would freeze that water and take a photograph of the frozen molecules. And the photographs are lovely, beautiful designs, like you would see maybe similar to like a snowflake kind of design. In contrast, when he had people saying negative things to the water, the negativity vibration changed the design of these frozen crystals, and they were more distorted and less aesthetically pleasing. You may be familiar with the bully plant experiment in some schools. Maybe when you went to high school, it's possible that there was a bully plant experiment where they had two plants, usually either in a hallway or in a classroom. And students would bully a plant, basically telling it, oh, you're ugly, you're stupid, things like that. And that kind of vibration would typically make the plant look very unhealthy. Whereas in contrast, if you were saying nice, loving things to the plant, it would thrive and be healthy, right? So some of you may already be familiar with this kind of research. I also include Deepak Chopra because he has done quite a bit for the medical industry here in the United States. He's from India and has brought a lot of ancient wisdom from India, including this whole concept about vibrations and how important they are to our own well-being. So I cite a particular article that he wrote about a complete guide to raise your vibration, which is what I'll be talking about in this presentation. It's about 30 minutes or so. So the point here is that this business about vibrations is maybe new to some of you and new to some people in the United States, but it's really been understood for quite a long time in countries in the East in particular. Okay, please, in the next slide. So one of the activities I'd like to do with you today is about setting your own intention for well-being, right? Because I believe you have more control over your life than you may think, right? Again, what you repeatedly think about can manifest in your life, right? And intentions, I believe, are really a must for important events. In other words, not to go through life unconsciously, but to go through life consciously every day setting an intention for yourself, and even before any major projects, like a major school project, maybe a new relationship you're about to start, if you're going to start a new job or a career, a big purchase like a car or a house, definitely set an intention on how you want it to turn out. For me personally, I say every day, I am safe, healthy, and happy. I say that every day. And I say other positive intentions too. There are some examples here. Oops. Oh no, I'm sorry, Tupten. I meant the previous slide. I said we were going to do an activity, but we're still on. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. So these are just some examples because I want to give you an understanding of the proper way to set intentions, or at least the way that I would suggest to get the most bang for the buck, so to speak. So notice in these examples, I am safe, healthy, and happy. I handle my schoolwork with ease. I feel connected to friends that love and care for me. I take care of my body with good eating habits. I resolve a conflict I had with a friend or a family member. And I choose to allow all my experiences to be joyous and loving. Even just saying these to you, to yourself right now, you might find some comfort to just say these kinds of positive intentions. When you look at this list, you'll see that they're all in the present tense, right? In now. I am now doing this thing, right? Even though you could say, I am safe, healthy, and happy, and feel that you're not healthy. You say, oh yeah, I'll say I'm safe, healthy, and happy, but you know what? I don't think I'm happy. I don't think I'm healthy. Maybe I shouldn't say it. No, that what my point is if you want to change your position in where your life is right now to something different, that you say these positive statements in the present tense, like it's already happening. And to avoid double negatives, because a lot of people know what they don't want. So they might say, well, I don't want to be unhealthy, or I don't want to be poor, or I don't want to be something else, right? No, focus on what you want. So I am healthy would be the correct way to set the intention. And then lastly, I'll just point out some people also may feel like, well, I'm not healthy right now, so I'm going to say I want to be healthy because that's probably more true. I want to be healthy. But my strong suggestion is that you stay focused with the current tense. I am healthy right now. And when you create your intentions, of course, like in any mindfulness practice, you should let go of exactly how you think is going to look, right? Just let go of the outcome and have patience with it. And I trust that you will have very good results. So next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to do a little intention setting activity now that you have some ideas of what kind of words or the format of an intention. Before we do the practice, does anybody have any questions before I ask you to come up with your own intention? I'll guide you through a mindfulness practice, and then I'll ask you to set an intention. But does anybody have any questions before we move forward? Okay, so I suggest, because we're going to be in silence for just a few moments, if you're not already on mute, maybe it would be a good idea on mute, just because then we won't have any interruptions, just in case, you know, depending on where you all are. So I'll leave that up to you. Okay, so we're going to start out with just a few mindful breaths, because I believe that it's best to clear the mind, still the mind, and then when we're ready to ask our question about what is it I want, right? It can come to us more clearly and profoundly. So I would suggest, if you're sitting, maybe keep your feet flat on the floor and create a tall torso, and drop your head gently if it's comfortable for you. Maybe close your eyes or keep them slightly open with a soft gaze. And just bring your mind to the breath right now. Nothing else to do but to focus on your own breathing right now. If your mind is wandering around, just come right back to the breath. Feeling the air come in through the inhalation and the exhalations. Just to come to a still mind where you're just comfortably sitting and enjoying the connection with your breath. Now see if you can bring to mind what you want for yourself to manifest this week or this month. Something in the near term so that you can appreciate it manifesting and say, oh, that worked. Let me do it another time and another time. So bring to mind something you want for yourself. What do I want? What do I want? And if you have an idea of what you would like to manifest this week and this month, I encourage you to go further with details about this situation manifesting. So in other words, imagine, use your imagination to sense all that's going on with this situation manifesting. Like, what are you seeing? Maybe you're hearing something like music or birds in the background. Maybe you're touching something or smelling something like some good cooking or flowers. Maybe there's taste involved. Try to imagine with as much detail as possible this intention that you really want for yourself this week or this month. Connect with all the senses. And maybe as you're imagining this happening right now, like you're in it, almost like a dream, it's happening right now, connect with the feeling of this intention. That feeling of joy or contentment or excitement, whatever that feeling is that is happening right now, your intention is manifesting right now. Connect with that feeling because that creates the vibration more than anything. It amplifies the vibration of your thoughts and the imagination. So stay connected with this idea of what you want this week, this month. Breathe in that feeling. Try to feel it from head to toe. How wonderful it will be that this intention is manifested now. 2 more breaths, deep inhalation and exhalation to manifest this intention. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes if they were closed. And I would like for you to write down like a sentence or two, similar to the examples of what your intention is in the present tense. Just write it down so you have it handy, just in case it slips your mind later. Again, it will be in the present tense, like I am such and such, or I have something, or some other verb. Take a moment to write it down. So before we go into this integrating intention into the consciousness and the body, does anybody want to share their intention? Because of course, when you share your intention, not only is that vibration happening from your thoughts and your imagination and your feelings, but when you share it out loud, and other people are thinking about it, it can amplify its vibration. So I welcome anybody if they want to take a moment. It's up to you.
I am calm.
Beautiful. Anybody else want to share? Okay, thank you for sharing that wonderful intention. I am calm with everybody. I'm sure everybody can use that intention as well. Thank you. So now we'll continue with the activity. So now that you have this intention, I am calm, for example, let's say I'm using it for myself, I suggest that you write this intention also in the second and third person, because it could have a profound impact on you hearing and seeing it in the second and third person. So for example, the first person is I am calm. The second person, my name, Autumn, you are calm. And the third person would be Autumn, she is calm. Do you follow me? So everybody take a moment to write your intention in first and second person and third person. Depending on the intention that you've chosen, and it could be different for different intentions, you might find the shift really happen for you maybe in the second person, because maybe hearing Autumn, you are calm, does that shift for you, because maybe you've got something going on in the past where somebody would say something to you and you gave that a lot of value, a lot of power, right? Rather than you saying it, I am calm. Maybe it's more powerful for you to hear Autumn, you are calm, right? Or it may be more powerful to hear it in the third person. So to really get the most out of this, I suggest you don't have to do it right now, but you can do it maybe after class, and in the future, hopefully, if you continue doing this kind of intention setting for yourself, that you write these first, second, and third person statements multiple times. On the slide, it says 10 times, 10, 20, 30, you know, for something you really want, write it multiple times. But now, as you're writing it multiple times, you might come up with a sabotaging thought, right? So it might, you know, you might, like, for example, I have an example here on the slide that says, I have an intention. My roommate and I have a great relationship, right? Well, you're living with someone. Yes, of course, you want a great relationship with this person. You think they're interesting, you know, whatever. So you have this intention. My roommate and I have a great relationship. You write it down multiple times. And then eventually a thought pops in your head and says, yeah, but I don't really like her friends. So I don't think it's going to work out. Right? Well, no, you want, this is your intention. You want to have a great relationship with your roommate. So don't just give up on it. Right? So when you're writing it down multiple times, if a sabotaging thought pops in your head, like I don't like her friends, turn the paper over or page down on your computer or wherever, and write down the negative thought. And then turn the page back and continue writing the multiple times of what your intention is. Right? When you're done writing your intention in the first, second, and third person multiple times, then go to the back of the paper and address these sabotaging thoughts. Because it's ideal if we can address the sabotaging thoughts rather than just denying them or stuffing them. Because if they're popping up, clearly they're floating around in the subconscious and now made it to consciousness. So what do you do with the negative thoughts? Well, you create another intention for that sabotaging thought because you want to turn it around, right? So you could simply just say, I like my roommate's friends. You could say that. I gave another example here. My roommate and I have a respectful community of friends. So then you write that first, second, and third person multiple times. And that will kind of counter the negative vibration that you're getting from these sabotaging thoughts. And believe me, the more you do this, the easier it will get. When you create the intention like you have, like I am calm or I am safe, healthy, and happy, or whatever your intention was, and you've written it all down, I strongly suggest, especially if it's an intention for the future, like this week or this month, that you say it every day. You say it every day because you're trying to change the vibration in your body so you can attract this thing, your intention. So before we go to the next slide, anybody have any questions so far? Okay. Okay, so the next slide. Thank you, Tipton. Okay, so it's very important to stay focused on what you want, right? Not on what you don't want. So many people know what they don't want. Oh, I don't want this, I don't want that. You know, these people, I don't want to be with those people. I don't like this, you know. That's a bad habit. We get used to that because so much information is coming to us, telling us about what we need and what we don't need, and we respond to it critically, right? So focus on what you do want. Remember, like that double negative, I don't want to be unhealthy. That's what you don't want. Don't try to get that in your head. Focus on what you do want. I am healthy, right? And catch yourself. Again, this is like a mindfulness practice because of the media and all the social interactions going on. Many people will have a bad habit of saying negative things. So just catch yourself. If you're hearing information about what you don't want, change the channel, right? Or direct the conversation in a positive place with your friends. What do you want? Let's focus our discussions on what we do want rather than complaining about what we don't want, right? Because all that negativity is going to sabotage all your efforts to realize your full potential and your strengths, right? It'll make us weaker. So my plea to this generation, this new generation here, and so grateful to have this opportunity to talk to people from URI, is start creating the visions of what you want for yourself. Create the visions of what you want for yourself and for humanity, and your vibration will manifest it, right? It's a daily practice to keep raising your vibration. It's all about raising your vibration for loving, peaceful, joyous thoughts. And with that vibration being higher and higher, you'll find yourself healthier, attracting more positivity. You might end up having even a different or new friends that might be more positive, right? New opportunities coming your way to raise your vibration. I really think from my perspective that we each have an opportunity to raise our vibration and the vibration of humanity. Some of you may have heard about this Great Awakening. Social media, I see it every now and then. The Great Awakening is coming, right? And the Great Awakening really is about being awake to the fact that our minds and our consciousness can really bring us to where we want to be, right? And not to feel like we're passive and things happen to us, but we have the power through our consciousness to create the life we want. And to really believe that, that is the Great Awakening, is that you have more power than you might realize. Okay, next slide, please. So raising your vibration. So it's easy for me to say, but you might say, okay, Miss Autumn Francesca, that's all very nice, but you know, I'm one of those people that has that bad habit of negative thinking, and how do I raise my vibration? So the next bullet point, Tipton, thank you, is gratitude. Gratitude is the attitude. Gratitude is really the gateway to other positive vibrations. Once you start thinking about what you're grateful for, you will already be raising your vibration and feeling better and happier. I suggest that you start with gratitude first thing in the morning. You start your day, you open your eyes, take a nice, beautiful inhalation, and you start being grateful. You list what you're grateful for. I'm grateful for this new day. Oh, look, it's sunny out. That's beautiful. And I'm grateful for my roommates making coffee. I smell coffee, smells so good. Or I'm grateful for my warm bed. I'm grateful for the clean water that I'm going to bathe in, brush my teeth, etc. Right? I'm grateful for the food I have. All that. There's a million things you can really list to be grateful for. And then, of course, before you go to bed, what are you grateful for? What happened to you that day that you're grateful for, right? What are you looking forward to tomorrow that you're grateful for? Once you start getting into that habit of gratitude, your vibration definitely will go up. Next bullet, please. Thank you. So finding the joy every day, this is a practice, and I actually personally learned this one recently in the last couple of years. I mean, I've been doing these practices for several years now, but the joy was a good one for me to learn, to say, oh yeah, I have to practice joy. You know, if I'm feeling in a slump, it's not necessarily going to come to me if I'm not doing anything. I need to practice joy, just like practicing the piano or practicing mindfulness. So when something joyous happens, reinforce the thought. If you saw a cute little puppy dog walking down the street, oh, what a beautiful, cute little puppy dog. I love that little puppy dog. Reinforce the thought. If you see your little sister that makes you happy, oh, I love visiting my little sister, right? Reinforce the thought. Again, we're talking about vibration. So the more you think about it and feel it, you will get in touch with the vibration. Of course, music that brings you joy will raise your vibration. Of course, also compassion to another person will raise your vibration. If you're being compassionate and you're helping somebody, even if it's somebody you don't know, you're helping them, it'll raise your vibration, make you feel good. I know everybody has had this experience where they have good feelings. It's very different when you're feeling joy than when you're feeling angry or guilt or shame, right? It has a different quality, a different feeling for you. So I know you know this, and this is all just reminding stuff that we probably already know, but need to be reminded. Okay, next one. Next bullet point, please, Tupten. Thank you. So raising your vibration is also impacted very much by forgiveness. If you're holding on to anger and resentment, either for yourself or because of another person, that's toxic vibration that's going to definitely impact your health in some way over time, right? So forgiveness is very important. Of course, many people will say this is easier said than done, but I have a little example for you to make it easy for you, and that's in the next bullet, the loving kindness meditation. So some of you may already know a loving kindness meditation. Basically, it's making a statement that's loving and kind, like, may I have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering, right? That kind statement. And if you say that over and over again, may I have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering. May I have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering. If you say that over and over again, that will raise your vibration. Now, how does this relate to forgiveness? Well, if there is somebody you're trying to forgive, and I'll give a personal example of my father. When I was growing up, he was very angry all the time. There was violence in the house, raging, etc. And I had big issues with my father, to say the least. I wasn't very happy with him growing up and through the years. And it took me a long time to try to forgive him. And it was really this loving kindness meditation that helped me. But I wasn't able to just jump right in and say, may my father have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering. Because then I would say, yeah, but not really, right? So how do you get there, right? There were times when I didn't even want to say it with his name involved. So the suggestion is you start your loving kindness meditation with someone you love. So you say something like, may my grandmother have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering. Or may my beloved, whoever that is, have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering. And you say that for a little while to raise the vibration. Then next, you introduce a new person that is not somebody you necessarily love, but somebody you care for. And you say, oh, may this person who works at Stop and Shop, I see every day, have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering. It's like a neutral person, right? And you say that a few times to raise your vibration for wishing such a loving, kind gesture for somebody that you don't even really know. And then you work towards the person that you're upset with and you need to forgive. And eventually, with some practice, you'll be able to say, may my father have peace and happiness and be free from pain and suffering, right? Now, when you're doing this kind of practice, this loving kindness meditation, it's very possible that you may become emotional during this practice, especially if you're saying it for yourself or for somebody you're trying to forgive, right? You might find yourself getting emotional. So we'll talk about emotions, how important it is to work with emotions and not just ignore them, but to breathe through the emotions. So the next slide, please. So working with emotions is very important because they give us important information about what we need. You know, emotions are energy in the body moving around. That's how you can tell the difference typically between an emotion and a thought, right? A thought is kind of incognito. You can think anything and nobody really knows necessarily what you're thinking. But once you have an emotion attached, then now the whole body gets involved. You could be crying, water coming out of your eyes, your face could turn red, you could be physically shaking, right? Emotion. So let's the next bullet point, please. Thank you. So emotions pass through the body within 90 seconds. This is supposedly a scientific, psychological fact that you can look up on the internet. When you are feeling an emotion, let's say you're very upset, maybe you had a fight with your best friend or something like that, and now you're very upset, something went wrong, right? Betrayal, something, right? Went wrong. Well, the suggestion here is that when you're feeling the emotion, which of course you'll feel it, you can't deny it, right? Just breathe as if you're doing a mindfulness practice. Just focus on the breathing in and out. Try to stay focused on your breath for under 2 minutes. And if you can stay focused on your breath for about 2 minutes, then the emotion will leave the body and not get stuck in the body, which is what we're trying to avoid. The difference is attaching a story to the emotion, which most of us do, right? It's very easy to do. Soon as we get emotional, we're already saying to ourselves, oh, I can't believe she did that. I thought she was my friend. Oh my God, I can't believe she was telling so-and-so, and now I can't go to class tomorrow. And then we spin in our heads with all this story and this imagination. And once we attach the story to the emotion, it can get stuck in the body. And ancient cultures like China, for example, where they, when it comes to like acupuncture and things like that, they have some ancient wisdom around healing, and they have documented that anger can get stuck in the liver, and worry can get stuck in the spleen, sadness in the lungs, and fear in the kidneys, for example. And you can look up this information yourself if it interests you. But my point is, when you're emotional, try not to just get swept away with the emotion. Try to let it pass through the body with just breathing, so that you can do the forgiveness exercises and you can stay focused on your intentions. Because a lot of us believe we can't have what we want. So we set an intention and we either deny it and say, well, that'll never happen, or we might get emotional because now the body is saying, oh, somebody's listening to us. So the consciousness is now connecting to the subconscious and the rest of the body, and finally asking for what we want, right? And some people can get very emotional just through that experience alone about claiming their intention. Now, many of us, again, don't have the practice of letting the emotions pass through the body just with the breath. So you might say to me now, well, Miss Francesca, that's a great idea, but I still have all these emotions stuck in my body from years ago. And, you know, it might happen again. I'm not practiced in this. Just breathe through the emotions. So what do I do now? Well, next bullet, please. So what we do, I suggest, is that you journal. you take a piece of paper, it doesn't have to be in a fancy journal book, but wherever you can write something down. I don't know if the impact is the same with typing. I personally use a pen and paper, right? Something easy to write with, or a pencil. And just start journaling unedited. Don't worry about I have to hand this in to be reviewed, right? It's unedited, free-flowing consciousness so that you can tap into the subconscious and get insights for your healing. And use a journal prompt like, what do I need right now? And you might write down, oh, I need $1 million. I need a car that works. I need a new roommate. I need all these things right on the surface. And then the more you write and the more you write, it might bring up emotion. If it does, breathe through it till the emotion passes. Keep writing, and you might realize, oh, what I really just need is a hug. Or what I really just need is to call my old friend who I haven't talked to in a long time, right? Things that you may not have thought of. But in doing this, it's very likely that you'll connect with your subconscious if you journal unedited and just see what pops up. And you might just have all kinds of things pop up. It might not even make sense to you, and it's okay. Don't try to overthink it. Just let the subconscious flow through. Okay. Next slide, please. So my final slide that I'll leave with you is your mind will always believe everything you tell it. So I'm happy to take any questions or comments. It's up to you.